those seasons were off. I was lucky enough with a couple of the lads there, Paddy O'Brien and John O'Brien from Toomevara, and I was very good pals with them. So after about the junior cup year in the rugby, I broke my ankle and I missed the season, and I kind of went more so towards hurling after that. So, but there was a good lot of lads there that played a lot of Gaelic football, and in the off season then, when the hurling and the rugby was over, we played a lot of Gaelic football as well. But then when I went to UCD, then obviously we had the hurling and the Gaelic football, and of course Croom, we had a very good generation of players around my year, a couple of years ahead, a couple of years behind. There was a group of us there, and we won a lot of titles, premier titles in Limerick at underage and up along. So I had that background in the dual.
What would you say, entering Rascrea and leaving, what would be the big things that you picked up from playing the rugby, playing the hurling? Like, what were the big things, takeaways from?
Well, I would definitely say that sports complement each other, and I think all the studies bear that out, that the more sports you play, the skills complement each other and they aid. But then if you're going to specialise, you should do so maybe around 15, 16, rather than at what they're talking about now, like, which is like 10, 11, 12, 13. That's way too young to do that. You shouldn't be forcing fellas down elite routes at that stage. Just let young lads play. Well, when you're in boarding school, you know, if you're not studying, you're there all the time, especially at weekends. Paddy and John and the lads got to go home at weekends, but I only got home once a month, so I had nothing else to do but use the hurling alley. So it was just that time practicing only for it and pucking around with Paddy most of the time. Then that's where I got up my striking on my left and my right. So it was just repetition, practice, and long striking, like so. And we had an excellent teacher there, Hugh MacDonald. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he was our geography Irish teacher, but he was the hurling coach for the few years, and he was great, you know. We really rode in behind him, you know, and we got to the All-Ireland Colleges final in B. We beat Closh-Doan of Dublin in the Leinster final and got to the All-Ireland final against St. Clements, as it happens. And St. Clements at that time, 1997, were like the equivalent of Ard Scoil-Rísh, or now they're like the who's who of the Limerick minor hurling team. So I could ream it off there. It was like 3/4 of the Limerick minors were on that team, and we were beaten. We were a point down, a few minutes left, and they got a goal at the end. Then won by 4 points. But that was a good grinding of hurling, like regular hurling, like, you know, 5-6 days a week hurling, or practically, maybe even every day of the week for 5 years.
And you were more confident leaving there?
Oh, absolutely. The more you play, it's like any sport. The more you play it, the better you get.
So through school, and next thing you're doing medicine, is it?
Yeah.
So you're heading towards the capital, UCD. You're Limerick. Are you playing minor Limerick at this stage?
Yeah, so with Limerick, because of Rascrea, like, I was not allowed back to play with the Limerick underage teams. I think I played the interdivision under-16 hurling 1 or 2 years. I played the under-16 football Woodlands. That was my first jersey, wing back. I still have that jersey. And we did well. We only were beaten by Cork County by 2 points, and then we won the Shield. So that wasn't too bad. A lot of those lads went on then to the Limerick Minors of 98. So I was the captain of the minor hurlers that year. And I actually did a year in tutorial after Rascrea before I went to Dublin. So I was on both squads, and I kind of got away with playing in tutorial even though it wasn't allowed. I used to hide my gear bag in Souths and grab it at between 5 and 7 and head up to Mary I, and Leonard Enright, God rest him, used to let me in to tag out and puck around.
Spoiled. You've always been spoiled your whole life. You've been spoiled.
Well, I got lucky there, you know. So like, there was nothing to do like, between 5 and 7, so I had free time, so I got to go up and practice there. And anyway, the minors that year, we had we lost by 2 points to Clare in the hurling. You know, we were missing Brian Geary, we were missing Kevin Carey and Morris Kirby, so our centre back and our centre forward, and one of our best forwards were missing. The football, we did very well. We beat Cork in the minor football Munster Championship, and we lost to Kerry. That was the famous goal that wasn't to hit the back extension from Matt Culhan down in Thurles, and that was Pat O'Shea was coaching us that year.
You often reference him as a massive...
yeah, fantastic, incredible coach. Very lucky to have a coach like him. Like Donny Buckley and Pat O'Shea, I'd say, were the two most, the best coaches I have in terms of detail and individual, demonstrating what you should and shouldn't be doing. Technical coaching. The training sessions were 90 minutes long in the P field in Monaleen on Saturdays. You sneak out a tutorial to go to those as well. It was the only man actually to ever make me get sick. At training, Pat, they were so tough, like, but really, really, really good grinding, like, and tactical sessions as well, like, and we were 17, 18, like, so gave us an excellent base
So you were
drive
well
on.
grounded.
So I was well coached in football before I even got to UCD.
So going in the door at UCD, I asked you this before. You were from Limerick, obviously. You're going into a college that's drawn from so many counties. Obviously, hurling and football you were playing. So what was your kind of thought process going in the door there, day one, before you'd met anyone?
Myself and Paddy went up anyway. We were on the, I think we were on the, I don't know, was it hurling or he was on the hurling? I might have been on a dual or hurling scholarship, but that was fine. The hurling freshers, we got to the All-Ireland final, and we should have won that game. We lost to GMIT. That was a horrible day. But in the football, I started off on the B team. Now in those days, it was like Dublin, Meath and the surrounding counties around Dublin, and all county players on there. So like I was coming from Limerick, I was just an afterthought.
Straight away you think
so straight away I was onto the Bs, and I wasn't having that. So I says, right, I'm going to prove these guys, prove me right, not prove them wrong. Like Kasper Schmeichel said that in a podcast recently, and it stuck with me. Like, and it's not about others, it's about you. So like I was said, I'm going to get onto that team now, and sure enough, after a few matches then I was onto the A's with the lads. You know, and after that a lot of the lads on that freshers team actually fell away and didn't play. Like over my time in UCD, we won a Dublin championship, we won another 21 championship, we lost 3 Sigerson finals over my 6 years there. Like, so, and a lot of the lads there, now I was there 6 years, the lads were there 3 or 4, but a lot of them didn't go on from that year. It wasn't a very strong freshers football year.
But I know Shawnee Buckley said recently, and I was chatting about it, he said it is what you make of it, and it sounds like you were just decided you were going to make the most out of it. It didn't matter how good the freshers team was or wasn't at that time. You were just going to see how good you were going to be and how far to take you. And playing with the likes, I know you've told me before some of the characters and class players that you played with, but training with those lads in UCD, what did that do for your game, both football and hurling?
I don't know, it was incredible stuff. You know, I was surrounded by county players. Like I was living on campus for the 6 years, and I was living with some of them. Like I lived with Nigel Crawford, the mid midfielder, for 3 years. I remember I started second year, I was living with Nigel. No sign of Nigel for the first week of college because they just won the All-Ireland the Sunday. So obviously Nigel's off on the tear for the week, but then he came back like he was like a rock star, you know. So like here was us hanging out with this guy just won the All-Ireland. Like we were only 20, 19 or 20 at the time, you know. So like you and I, there was 2 generations nearly. It was when I was there, age 19, 20. It was my first year on the Sigerson in second year. Like they brought us in after Christmas for a training camp. Like so, you were starting on the Monday, college after Christmas, and we came back on like the Thursday or Friday. So we had 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of training, like twice a day. First training session on the Friday morning, whatever. So there I was put in wing forward. So who was I marking? Only Declan Meehan, who had won the All-Ireland, 2 All-Irelands with Galway. I swear to God, it was like trying to follow the road runner, like, you know, up and down and up, and I nearly calved after that training session. But surrounded by class players like Peter Andrews, who's the Dublin wing back, Kieran McManus, Nigel Crawford, John Hegarty from Wexford, Mick O'Keefe, the Dublin corner forward, like Noel Maguire from Sligo full back, Brendan O'Haney, the centre back, wing back for Wicklow, like wall to wall county players, lads from Wexford, Dara Breen, Philip Wallace, you know. So being in that company, you know, it only brings your skill level up. As Paul Kinnerk and others talk about, you have to you can't be just doing drills uncontested. It's all about games-based scenarios, and all those were playing matches. It was very match-based in college,
it was,
as opposed to club training or inter-county training. Very match-based, and like you're making quick decisions because the speed of it is a lot higher. It's like county team. So that brought me on for sure. I
suppose at that level they're expecting a lot of kind of natural ability, natural kind of game sense, and that's why you are able to play the matches. But you know, when you're marking Declan Meehan and like you're there, okay, this fella's running me into the ground here. What goes through your head after that session? Is it a case of, well, I lived with him, so I'm able to do it, or is it a case of, well, there's the level now that I need probably to concentrate on and to get to?
Just as you said, there's the level. I'm going to, like, obviously I was never going to get as fast as Declan. Like he was, in particular, he was fast. But I says, I get my hands on the ball. That was only the first goal. Like, there's loads of other sessions, and there was training sessions where you'd have good days and training sessions when you'd have bad ones, or average. So you just have to try your best, be the best you can be all the time. Like, that's train as hard as you can. And that's what I wanted to do.
Get the most.
The other thing was, it was great crack. We absolutely had the time of our lives. College, if you ask anyone, college is the best days of your life. We had serious crack. because every match was after it. Back in those days now, when you ask anybody, every time, especially in college, you play a match, you go out afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, most people now wouldn't be out all week. Like, if you had a game on, you'd stay in like for the few nights before it. Like, even if the big games, you wouldn't be going out at all, you'd be building up to them, like, you know. But afterwards, it was great crack.
And do you feel that helped as well, getting so friendly
Absolutely.
with these guys? Like, and
it was like, you're all young lads. You know, you're all, having the crack. You're all going out together. You know, and then the football and the sport together. Like, it's brilliant. It's the best days.
And I suppose, taking quickly back to Limerick, then, if you had met, and when you did meet those guys, when it came back to playing inter-county, both hurling and football, obviously at that stage then you're like, well, I was able to live with these guys at the highest level in college, and I was able to learn off them. So when you're walking onto the pitch to play those games with Limerick, you probably, like, what was the feeling then? Did you just feel like, well, I'm able to, this is my level, I'm very comfortable here? And
like, we played in so many big games with UCD. We were in Sigerson quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals every year. 3 Sigerson finals. Dublin Championship, we won it in 2002, into the Leinster Championship. Dublin under 21. In the hurling, we won 3 Dublin Championships, and we got to 2 Leinster finals, only barely beaten in them. Like, so we're playing high level all along with UCD. Croom were doing really well for a few years. Like, I know we didn't get to win the intermediate in football and that, like, but we got close enough. Like, we're playing at a reasonable standard. Like, you'd myself, Razor and Galv in Croom. Like, so there was a decent standard, and a decent standard of dual players there. Like, so. I was lucky in that generation. But going back to the county, all of those things together add up and just make you a better player.
Yeah. So, like, I suppose the message to any player that's going into a college environment, whether it be UCD, UL, whatever, is to take advantage of and make the most of your exposure and experience there. Yeah. So,
I mean, you're in college, make the most of the best days of your life. Like, playing in those teams, like, it's great crack. Whatever about how serious it's gone, it's great fun. Like, any player that goes in from the Limerick Minors in football or hurling, whatever college you're in, you should give it a shot. Like, back yourself. I mean, there's more to life than just going out in the tear and having house parties and getting a part-time job and all that. Like, I mean, you should play in college. That was my belief anyway.
And it wasn't like you were doing a course that was you could just rock in and rock out whenever you wanted. Like, so you were doing medicine at the time. Tough course.
Well, I don't think I made a Friday afternoon lecture for the entire 6 years that I was there. I was gone in the lunchtime train on a Friday, but I still managed to get through. I think it's a bit different nowadays. There's more continuous assessment. In those days, the vast majority of marks for your year were Christmas and summer, so you could kind of cram in the lead up to those, and it was a bit better,
But you were able to balance that. Plus playing, plus going out, plus getting back to play with Croom. Like, you were.
Well, you have to have the want to do it. Like,
that's
if you don't have the real desire, like, I wanted to do it all. And I was lucky enough to be able to do as much as I did. Like, But if some lads aren't bothered, they're just not that into it. I mean, they're not going to.
No matter what environment,
I suppose.
You're right.
Reach their potential.
That's it. No matter what environment you're going into.
And you can't make somebody want that. Like,
no.
You can only guide them and advise them.
So they make you, basically, go back to the point earlier, you make the most of it, like, and you're going into that environment straight away. When they said to you, okay, because I still remember going into UL and they asking, okay, what club you're from, what county you're from, and right now Limerick, and you get a certain type of look when you're going for the football, but you didn't let that.
No, I wouldn't have that. No way. Like, and no one else should have that.
No.
If you go with that attitude, you'll never achieve anything. That's ridiculous attitude.
It was an attitude. It's something I do regret. It's something I do regret that I didn't try and make more of it. But
show them what you've got. Fight for who you are. Fight for your team, your family, your club, your county. It's not corny at all. Just go out there and do it, like, and show them what you can do.
And I suppose another thing, and I know I've spoken about him very favourably and fondly over the years, but going into a place like UCD, when you met and were kind of handled and looked after by someone like Dave Billings, to have someone in an environment like that where you're obviously, you were going up and you were confident about who you were, but then to be kind of shown the ropes and to be looked after by someone in that environment was very important.
I was very, very, very lucky with Dave. Like, you've seen all the tributes paid to Dave since he passed away, but what a character! Like, in loco parentis is what they say. Like, he was in place of your parents. He really looked after me. He was like a father figure. It was desperate when he passed away suddenly. He's done more for so many lads that had finished college, lads that were in college, getting them tickets for All Irelands, organising transport for them, giving them a few bob out of his own pocket when they needed it, not expecting it back, sorting out CVs and putting them in touch with certain professionals to try and help them get jobs further down the line. You know, you name it, he looked after lads. Like, he was an amazing guy.
What were some of the like, and not to dwell on the point too much, but what a difference that would make to someone who's going into a big college like UCD or UL or UCC or wherever these lads are going, to know that you have someone there that has your best interest.
Himself and Eamon Ryan at UCC were very, very alike. Like, I God rest, Eamon passed away recently as well. A great guy, great time for Eamon. I'm very sad to see him pass away. But again, and you listen to any of the interviews from the Cork ladies, like he's like a father figure to them, and very interested in the person and looking after the person, not just the player. Dave was just like that.
Yeah, I suppose that's a very important point. That
Absolutely.
They were, like, obviously they're GA men and GA men, GA women, we all are, but like they're more interested about making sure you're comfortable, that you're being looked after.
Yeah.
And I suppose that follows on then, that you're more likely
There's
to
loyalty then,
yeah,
and mutual loyalty and respect.
Yeah.
Like back in those days, there's a different type of person these days in college.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if UCD would ever get Dublin Championship teams back going again, certainly in hurling, like, because you've lads are doing work at there's part-time jobs, or they're going home and they're not as into it. Like, we were definitely, like, in the true sense of a club like Ballysteen for you or Croom for me. That was absolutely there for UCD at the time.
I was going to ask that actually. Where does UCD? Not that I'm not going to ask anyone to compare where they come versus club, county, and all that. But it meant a lot to you to play for
Huge
UCD.
amount. Huge. And Dave was the kernel of that. Like, I mean, he was our leader. He was the centre of it all. I mean, even when UCD finally won the Sigerson, like, they finally won it after all those years losing it.
Yeah.
It was just the year after he passed away. It was almost poetic, almost, like, it was very sad in a way, but I remember Jack McCaffrey, who's very close to Dave as well, and he was the captain of UCD that year, like,
Dave would have been involved in Dublin for
Dave did
a couple of years.
Like, I mean, you ask a lot of the Dublin lads, he's very, very good pals with Pillar. And I think he was a selector with Pillar. And a lot of young lads, he helped them come through, and a lot of the lads who went on and won multiple All-Irelands would talk about Dave as well. Like, he was involved with the underage teams, helped them out bits and pieces. Like, I was up and down playing matches twice in one day. Like, I'd play in Dublin and get down to Limerick. Like, he organised a four-seater plane down for me once, and we
you were well looked after.
I don't know. Like, he just did that. Like, back in those days, we played a match in Parnell, I think, or in O'Toole Park, out to Westminstown, and got the plane down, landed in an airfield in Palace Green, over to Kilfinnan to play an intermediate, or was it a junior football match, possibly even, against Galtee Gales. This is mad stuff. Like, another time I went down, played a match in Dublin, got a helicopter down, landed in the field or the grass beside the Castletroy Park Hotel, and went over to Clahan to play against, was it Palace Green we played that night? Like, again, playing two matches one day. It's crazy stuff. Like, only Dave Billings would sort that stuff out.
I'm sure.
And a taxi to take you from the pitch. From the pitch over to catch that, to get down in time, like,
But I'm sure if it was the other way around, though, because he was doing that for you to get back to play with your club.
Loyalty.
If it was the other way around, you'd have moved mountains to get up to play with UCD, like, and how did you? I know at the minute, Garrod Hegarty is probably the most modern example of someone who has married playing intercounty football for a while with the hurling, and even when he was in UL, he was marrying the Sigerson with the Fitzgibbon, and he puts.
Here's an example of a guy now, an incredible leader, an incredibly honest guy, and very committed and very determined. The exact guy you'd want in your dressing room.
Yeah.
Signs on, he's probably going to win Hurler of the Year this year.
Probably,
he's an amazing lad.
Yeah.
When we played with him for a year or two, and John Bruder really, really invested in him, and Hego acknowledged that in his interviews recently, that he wouldn't be where he was only for his time with the footballers.
Yeah.
So it's really stood to him.
And did you find that it stood to you that time? Like, did you kind of, obviously there's an element of burnout when you're involved with so many teams, but did you feel that playing both at that high level in college was good? Obviously there's obviously drawbacks to it, but what did you make of it?
Yeah, there's pros and cons, definitely. Nowadays, no way could you play the two.
No, it doesn't really happen
Back
anymore.
in those days, there wasn't as many qualifiers, there wasn't as much training, the season wasn't as long. When one competition finished, you went on to the other. I was lucky with Liam Kearns around then that he allowed me to miss the trainings, because he knew I was playing. Like, I wasn't exactly up sitting on the couch playing the PlayStation.
You hardly trained there for about 6 years, I'd say. You were just going from match to match.
Well, it was loads of matches.
I know, yeah.
There was one particular pinch point in 2001. So we were in the Fitzgibbon and Sigerson, and we drew the Fitzgibbon final, and then we played the Sigerson final a few days later, and I tore my hamstring. I was playing half forwards, Mackendecky McCrossan up in Jordanstown, and we had the replay against UCC in the Fitzgibbon a few days later, and then we had the Munster under-21 football final against Cork. All those games were in the space of 12 days, and I tried to play. Mark Van Drumte was trying to sort my hamstring, but like really there's no way in hell I should have got on. But I started against UCC anyway in midfield. I was gone after about 10-12 minutes. Like there's no way, but like you would have had to shoot me to get me off the pitch there to not get me to start. But and I didn't get to play the Munster match.
Oh, you missed that,
against, yeah, against Cork.
Is that the match you won?
No, that's the game we lost,
Okay.
2001. But yeah, that was a pinch point there. But all in all, a lot of stuff was at different parts of the year.
Different year as well.
It got harder as time went by. Like in a couple of years there, like after 2005, I tried to play the dual in 2006. And I was doing, asked Donald O'Sullivan, I was doing paediatrics. We're on call every 4 nights. So doing not only 24 hours, like you do your 24 hours from 9 one day to 9 the next day, and the whole next day, finish till 5. So whatever that is, like 32 hours in a row, and you're doing that every 4 days. So I played the first round of the league against Roscommon, and I couldn't. I was wiped out. I couldn't do it anymore.
You tried to get me drafted off the team before you left the team.
But so then I played the hurling only for a couple of years, and then when Donny and Mickey Nedra there, I came back and tried the 2 in 09 and 2010. Then things went a bit pear-shaped with the hurling, but
but at the time in college,
like it wasn't as bad, like because they were understanding the managers,
it did change. I say the sports scientists nowadays just wouldn't wash.
It's not possible.
It just wouldn't, and it's gone to such a level now. It's very like there isn't enough hours in the week hardly to play.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one specific example that made it hit home for me. In 2009, we had a very good year with football. We got very close against Cork, and we had a good year. I was playing well in the hurling in the National League, but it was literally match right through the year, right up. Now the hurling we had Justin, and it was a bit of a topsy-turvy. We were going fine, and then we just lost to Waterford in a replay. I think it was a replay anyway, and we eventually got to play. We beat Wexford in a torrent down in Wexford, just about beat Laois and just about beat Dublin. So we were playing Tip, and I remember that was the day we got well beaten.
2011 was it?
2009, very dark day, and remember John O'Brien actually half forward catching the ball. He was left half forward, and I knew he was going to turn in field and hit it into Owen Kelly, who was full forward. So I read that and ran out in front. But what I did was I put my hand down to gather the ball.
You never do it.
And I would never, ever have done that. Now, if I was hurling only that year, 10 times out of 10 I'd have put my hurley down to control that.
That was 11, I'd say, because you came on.
No.
Are you sure?
2009.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. You're good at
I
numbers.
remember it, yeah. And back of the net, Owen Kelly on his own on the 20-yard line, bang, goal. And that was the start of a very bad day. So look.
But like so straight out, would you, if you were going to college now, it's harder now obviously because I even see with the freshers in UL, the minute they go in the door, the lads don't play freshers hurling and football. It's not a rule, but because there's so much involved in it, that they find it very hard to even do both. Where possible, you think?
Every manager now, even if they're with the junior Z team, are trying to put a mark in it and train every God-given hour, run it like an inter-county team. That's just the way it's gone. So
it's up to the man management. It's up to what the player wants.
When I was in college versus what's there now, and when you were in college versus what's there now, as you just said, it's probably harder to do the two.
It is. So
I'm not espousing that we do the two. I'm just saying that, like, what I'm saying is, if you are a hurler or you are a footballer and you go to college,
the most of it.
You should make the most of it and play.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line from this talk.
And I suppose nearly finishing up now. So those lads that you played with in college, you still keep in contact with some of them?
We'd be on to each other a bit.
Famous WhatsApp groups or
no?
Not so much.
Jesus, there was no mobile phones back in those days, like, so it's good, like, But I'd have more WhatsApp groups with the Limerick teams now that I played on rather than. But I'd be texting some of the UCD lads. Here and there.
So still friends with lads who you played with?
If put it like this, if I met him anywhere, we'd be having the crack immediately.
Which shows you the bond.
The bonds never break, even though you don't see each other, hear from each other. You nearly fall straight back into having this crack.
I know, it's the way it should be.
It is, exactly.
And it leads to better teams generally when you have that in them. So kind of last thing, without kind of drawing a line under it, you're a Limerick hurler, Limerick footballer, going into any college, and what's your advice to them? I know we've kind of touched on it, but going in the door day one, without anything being said to you, without any form being filled out or any aspirations of what you might achieve or things put on you of what you can't achieve, like what would be the message there?
Being organised, 100%. There's too many scatterbrains out there. You just have to know when training is on and plan and look ahead. So like know when matches are going to be on, know when your club matches and training are going to be on. If you're with a county team, know when they're on. Have like a calendar, know when different things are on so that you know where you're going to be, where your pinch points are, you know, where your lectures and your exams are going to be, so that you're planning ahead. That was the one thing I was very good at, and it served me well in trying to do all that, all the college work for my course and all the hurling and the football. I knew exactly when everything was on. As soon as a fixture was coming, or even at different times of the year, I knew when things were on, you know, and it just allowed me to be able to do all that stuff.
Yeah, and you made the most out of every college experience then because of that. Like you were able to give the time to the college.
Yeah.
And experience everything that you experienced.
So that's what I would say. Just be organised and know when things are on, and mark them down in your calendar so you'll be able to do them. Like,
is there anything else that you would like to kind of get
don't
across?
Don't miss out in college. Like, I mean, too many fellas, I just don't understand why they just don't bother.
Yeah.
Do you know, they miss out on so much. Like, I mean, I don't think they realise it unless they were part of it. How enjoyable. Like, it is super crack. Like, honest to God. Like, and the benefit from playing with those guys. You know, a lot of those guys will go on and win All Irelands that you will be playing with in, you know, in the different colleges. So make the most of it.
Soak it up.
Share those experiences. You know, it develops you as a player, it develops you as a person. You know, so definitely do it.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks very much. 27 minutes. So, given the time of year that it is,